Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Grace of a Military Child in Life podcast. Military families are not like your traditional family. They are strong, brave, resilient, and some of the most incredible people I know. My name is Gracie, a U.S. Army brat, and I am your host. I am honored to be able to give military family members like myself a place for them to share their stories and experiences in the military life. Stay tuned for this week's guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Grace of a Military Child in Life. Today, I'm here with Brittany, who is an Army spouse. So, Brittany, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. So, tell us what it's like being an Army spouse.
I'm very new to this, so I am still little. I'm 30, but we started late in the game, so it's kind of weird being, this is our first duty station, and just having been civilians for so long first and now moving into the Army life has been a transition in a good way. We absolutely love it and would not change anything. We got very lucky, and Hawaii is our first duty station, so that part's been amazing. And I feel like I have, which I'm sure we can talk more about this later, but just a unique perspective, having both of us had civilian jobs and then transition to life in the military. It's different. And for our family, it's been the absolute best decision we've ever made, not only for my husband and I, but for our girls as well. So we're really, really liking it. And it's fun to see my husband be so successful at something he truly loves.
Yeah, that's so incredible. And it's definitely, I don't think you're ever like late to the game with it. I think it's just, there's no real risk to doing it. There's always going to be something positive that you can gain from it. Even looking to join myself, it was like, okay, well, I'm 22. Most people don't join at my age. And you go the officer route, but after college. Right. And so it's like, okay, I'm not, the 18-year-old going in, but there's no real risk to it. Like, you're going to get so much out of the lifestyle that, whether it's just meeting new friends, going to new places, living in Hawaii, or, things like that. But then also the fact of the benefits that you'll get from it. And then making it a career, then you'd have the retirement benefits and stuff from that too.
Exactly. And that's something so before my husband joined the military, and then also at the very start when he was doing basic and AIT, because he did choose to go in as enlisted, instead of going the officer route, he's very big on, he wants to like walk the whole walk so that when I said, like, I've been there.
Yes.
Which is admirable, but also like pay-wise, big transition, right? And then me choosing to stay home, it's definitely been a huge transition. But just going from being an assistant, because I was an assistant principal and then a teacher before that, and just seeing the benefits, even just, yes, we're more broke now. However, insurance, that's a huge thing that was coming out of my paycheck as a teacher. Insurance was a big chunk. And also the fact that like, we know that no matter what happens with our girls, it's covered. And little kids are accident prone, things happen. My daughter is 4. She had already been in the hospital 3 times for sicknesses. And just knowing that we have that financial peace of mind of that aspect, and money may be a little tighter, which again is kind of our choice, right? Because I'm staying home. I could work it, but this has allowed me to stay home with the girls because our BAH is being taken for our house. So that's not a payment we make. Insurance isn't coming out. So just that perspective of like, I'm getting an opportunity that I wouldn't have had otherwise, because we were in Texas and we both had to work. We were working to pay for our house. We were working to pay for daycare. We were working to pay for our cars. Insurance was coming out of my check because he didn't have insurance. And so all of that added up. And it's just given us a little more freedom to do things that we never imagined we would be able to. So we were doing it.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because, you look at the pay scales and that's, public information. Like you can just Google it and find what you'd make in the military.
Right.
And people get scared by that because it's not a lot, but you have to look at it. Insurance is covered. You don't have to worry about that. You get housing. You don't have to worry about that. Depending where you are, You'll get like food supplement and stuff like that too. And depending on the situation, there's all these little, I don't know, little
Right.
perks about it. And
Yeah.
so even though the paycheck may be tiny compared to a civilian job, what you guys may have been used to, it pays off in the end
Mhm.
because you have all of those added benefits that you don't have to worry about.
Right, exactly. And if we weren't in Hawaii, probably, which is very expensive, again, love it here, but it's expensive. Like, I know a lot of people that will buy a home or rent a home and it's under BAH. So then you can even sometimes pocket that extra money, which would
Yes.
be so nice. But it's all about budget, no matter where you are. And my husband and I have both said that this is the poorest we will ever be. And if we can make it out, we can make it through anything. And just having that mentality of like, we've got it now and it can only go up from here. Like you said, all the big things are paid for, and we have a huge security in knowing that, he signed his contract for, I think it was 5 years. So for 5 years, we're set. And we know that, no matter what happens with the economy, he's always going to have a job, and that job security is huge.
Yeah, because there's most civilian jobs now, like you don't necessarily have that job security comfort. You
Mhm.
know, we everyone thought they were fine, and then the pandemic came around, and so many people lost their jobs and are still suffering from that. So
Right.
it's, that balance of, okay, like you said, we're going to be poor for a little while now. We're going to suffer through it. And then, you just build off of there in the little places. It's so important to save where you can. And so the little things that you can make matter are going to pay off in the long run.
Right. Well, and even being a teacher, something that we talked a lot about is just, I'm getting to be home with our girls. We were very
Right.
fortunate that the daycare that they were at was absolutely amazing. And they loved our girls like they were their own. But there is nobody that's going to take care of your child and raise your child like you are. And so getting the opportunity to be there with them every step of the way is huge to us. And just knowing that we are able to lay a firm foundation of, kind of this is who our family is and what we believe, and really teach them about God because we're big Christians. So we
Yeah.
we want them to have that firm foundation, so that when they go out into the world and they're grown-ups, then we feel like we've done all we can. Our biggest job as parents is to help raise them in the way that they should be. And so getting to do that and not having to trust somebody else to do it for me has been huge because I know that they're being taken care of. And I also know that we're fortunate to have that opportunity. And I'm never going to take it for granted.
Yeah. Because, without this, like you were saying, you had to continue to work and have a job. And, they were in daycare, and you could have the best daycare on the planet, but they're not going to be, that caretaker is not going to be their mom. And
Right.
so having that freedom to be able to stay home and take care of your kids is huge because you're going to miss out on those moments um,
Right.
if you don't take them. My mom worked in the school districts, and so she always had the same schedule as me and my sister. And so when my dad was gone, we never had to worry. Like she was always going to be there because she worked the same schedule. But
Right.
being a teacher, it is a little different because you have longer hours and stuff like that too.
Right, right. But it is like that staying home or even being a teacher working in a school, it helps because we all know the military, even what I've experienced
Yeah.
from my short time, there's a lot of change that happens, and you can have a
Yes.
plan, and the plan can be great until the day before, and then it gets changed. And so being able to know that, we're planning to homeschool, and we actually will be starting kindergarten with my oldest in the fall. And just knowing that if dad gets a random day off, hey, okay, we're homeschooling. Let's take the day off and go do something
Yeah.
fun. And then having the flexibility too of down the road, if he ever gets deployed, if we decide we want to go home for a while, we'll pack up the homeschool stuff, fly home for a little bit, and not have to worry about how, unenrolling them from one school and enrolling them in another or anything like that. So flexibility is really nice.
Yeah. You really never know. You can have the hard orders in your hand and think that everything is set and ready to happen. And then, you know, like you said, the day before it happens, it could be changed. And so I always say, once you get there, that is what it's happening. Once you take that first step, then it's happening, because until that moment, it can be changed.
Yes, it's so, so true.
Yeah. So how did you guys come to the decision to join this military life?
So I have to laugh at myself, and everyone can laugh at me, but my husband has always wanted to join the Army. And I was like, I will never be an Army wife. That's not what I want to do. While at the same time saying, like, I'm a career woman. I'm never going to stay at home. I have my career. And then life happened, and we had our second daughter. My husband and I'll share this, and I think he's okay with it, but we're in a really rough spot. Just things are expensive, even having two good careers, and we were just kind of stuck, and just felt like we needed a change. And he brought it up again, and I was like, you know what? I think that this is what we want to do. You've always wanted to. We prayed about it, and we just felt like that's what God was leading us to do. So he went ahead and enlisted, and I moved in with my parents while he was going to basic and AIT. And that time apart, really, like, both of us grew so much in that time. He grew up a lot. I think that both of us needed to realize what we had. Because I had always done everything with the girls. I sometimes feel like moms, that's just what we do, right? We're moms. It's like a first nature to, like, take everything on and just go with it. But at the same time, I wasn't realizing all the small things that he had been doing all along that were helpful that I wasn't seeing. So sometimes I do feel like the Army almost saved our marriage and saved our family, because we weren't in a good place. And now, especially with me getting to stay home, I'm able to prioritize our family and be here and work on being the best wife and the best mom. And it's been really good. So here I am, Army wife, mom, no career in sight. It's the most fulfilling and happiest I've ever been. And that's what he and I have talked a lot about. We're both so happy, and money isn't everything. And being truly happy is what matters. Can't take it with you when you go. So
Right, exactly. I always say you can't say never, because then it's most likely going to happen. Like, yep. I basically said I was never going to join the military. Here I am. I said I would never marry military. I had one military relationship, and I was like, oh, I want to marry military now. So yeah, I always say you can't say you're never going to do something, because more likely it's going to be in your path then.
Right. Because you just never know what God has planned. And we can try to figure things out the best we can, but he always knows, and he always sees so far ahead. That my husband and I were just talking, we've now been married 8 years, and we were just saying, when we first got married, who would have thought in 8 years we would be spending our anniversary in Hawaii and living in Hawaii?
Oh my gosh, yes.
God knew, and he had that planned all along. And so he's faithful, he's good, and we trusted him, and it always pays off.
Yeah. No, spending your anniversary in Hawaii, like, and you don't even have to pay for plane tickets to get there or anything, like, or a hotel. Like, look at that.
I know. We talk a lot about, especially during the winter, it rains a lot here in Hawaii. And so we would say, if it was a really rainy day, oh man, all these people on vacation, it's ruining their beach day. But we live here. And so it's huge to know, like, oh, it's raining today. Okay, we'll just go tomorrow.
Yeah, you can go for an hour and it's not going to, ruin the rest of your day.
Right. So it's been really, really nice. I know we got lucky. And every duty station will be what we make it. Even if we got, sorry, we're from Texas, but if we got Oklahoma, we'd make it work.
Good old Fort Sill.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And I love that story of just, how you got here and how you've gotten to this position, and, your faith and everything in it, because you never know what incredible things are going to come from it, and even the benefits you get from it are great, but those relationships that you get from it, the places you go, the people you get to meet and interact with, and there's just so many things about the military life that aren't, you know, they're not monetary, monetary, elements.
Right, exactly. It's the experiences are huge. And even like thinking about when we moved, all we had ever known was Texas.
Yeah.
We had moved once. We used to live in Lubbock, Texas. Shout out to our Red Raiders. But we moved from there to the Metroplex, Dallas Fort Worth area. And that was a move, but it was still in Texas. We had
Yeah.
family at the time. My husband's family was there, so it wasn't that scary. We had people. But picking up to move to an entire different state and one that's like across the ocean, that was huge. And definitely took a lot of faith. And it's both of us have grown through that as well. Myself, I had never lived super far away from my parents. They actually followed us and moved to DFW because we're so close. And I moved in with them while we were waiting to figure out where we were going to be. So being a new military spouse, moving far away from my family, becoming a stay-at-home mom, it was all been huge transitions. But you learn as you go and you just have to make the most of the situation.
Yeah. And it's definitely fun. That's the biggest thing. It is fun. No matter, even if you get to Oklahoma, it's going to be fun. It might not be the best weather or anything, and you might be in Tornado Alley, but it'll still be fun. It is
Right.
what you make of it. If you are just miserable the entire time, if you're not putting yourself out there, going exploring, doing new things, trying new foods, whatever it may be, if you're not putting yourself out there and doing those new things, then it's going to be much harder. But if you are making the effort to enjoy where you're at, to do new things, then it's more likely going to be enjoyable.
Exactly. You have to be willing to get out there and do it.
Yeah. And look, you went from like the center of Texas to the smallest island. So huge transition.
Huge transition, but it's really been so good. It really has.
No, that's incredible. And it's such a fun journey and it's such a fun life that as you go through this, you'll experience new things. Your daughters are going to start to experience new things and just the military life. And, it's not always the greatest. And you'll experience those hard times and it's just going to be what it is. But, you go through it, you have these incredible experiences and literally say it again, but the community you make, the people, that's the best part of this life.
Right. Well, it's something that honestly has been harder for me than I anticipated. I don't know why. I've thought a lot about it as far as like, I've always quickly made friends, but that's, I think, because I was working. So no matter what school, because I moved schools a few times, and no matter what school I went to, it was really easy for me to find people to hang out with. But I think something about becoming a stay-at-home mom is it can be isolating in a way.
Right.
And you have, instead of being around people that you're kind of almost forced to become friends with in the best way, right? Like I loved all my friends, but you're around them every day.
You have no other choice.
Exactly. And I think I did too get lucky that every campus I worked at just had really great people.
But that's also Texas too. They're just filled with great people.
I'm like, is that part of it? Because I really truly have struggled in the friend aspect of it. But I think, that is part of coming from Texas. People are super friendly and super kind.
Sure.
So that's part of it. And then just also, I don't have people that are like ready-made friends like that. I did find, and I'm going to put a plug in there because I would encourage anybody who's, not feeling like they're making connection. We have two on Oahu. There's a PWOC. It's Protestant Women of the Chapel, and it's a Bible study group that meets. And they have one that's during the day and one that's at night. And it was honestly the best thing that happened for me to get connected and to find friends. I've loved it, and I've heard that again, this is our first duty station, so I can't vouch for everywhere, but I've heard that they're all over. And so if anybody's struggling to make connections or feeling like they don't belong or they're having a hard time making friends, I would highly encourage you to go because there are so many great people that I've met, and so many sweet friends that I have now that I told them when we started hanging out outside of PWSC, and I just told them that I finally felt like I belonged and that I had friends and that I had made a connection and a deep connection. So that's been good. And some neighbors too. But something they don't tell you is that these military neighborhoods can be crazy.
Get on those Facebook pages. They'll just
Oh
go.
my gosh, yes. It's crazy. I have never, but again, we've never been military. So that's been an interesting experience because, I was working, I was an assistant principal. It was a very high stress job. And a lot of what I focused on was negative because somebody was always mad, or, the kid was in trouble, or the parent was mad, or the teacher was mad. And you just had to solve a lot of problems. Somebody has to do it, right? But I'm a very positive person, and it was kind of wearing on me because that's hard when you just feel like you're just seeing negatives. So now I'm home and I'm like, I just want some peace. I don't want negativity. It's just been funny to see that, like, I don't know, lots of people have lots of time on their hands, I guess I should say.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
We need to get some people need to get some hobbies or something because peeking out the windows is not it. So
we have the Ring doorbells, and so you can connect it to the neighborhood and everything. And so there's this little, like, I guess, group. We don't know who they are. It's like neighbor 51, neighbor 461. I don't know. So like every neighbor has a number, and it's all anonymous. And so every single time, like, we are 2 hours away from the nearest military base. So nothing is like, you're not necessarily expecting planes to fly overhead or anything like that. So when a helicopter comes flying over, the first thing is we all look at each other and go, okay, well, let's wait for the Ring app to go off. And so it's like, why is there a helicopter? And it's like, they're spraying for mosquitoes, it's the news, like, whatever. But yeah, those military Facebook pages are the same way. It's like any one little thing is out of line.
Yes.
They are all on top of it.
They are. I told my husband, we actually, funny story, but we are moving because we got here to Oahu and just didn't know much about where we should be and just, trying to find what's right fit. But I was telling him that when we move here in a few weeks, I am not joining our neighborhood Facebook page. I will put down, like, the big broad page, but I'm not joining the neighborhood one. And I'm just going to, ignorance is bliss. I'll just drive to the curb looking for the curb alerts instead of looking on Facebook.
Oh, I do not blame you. It can get crazy, but I mean, that's military life, I guess.
Well, I think it's hard too because people sometimes, spouses are gone. You want to take your mind off of it. Let's, I think that a part of everybody loves drama, whether it's creating it, viewing it, making it.
I prefer to be on the outside of it.
Right, exactly. I will watch my drama on Netflix.
Yes, I have been reading it in books. So
exactly.
Oh, that is so true. But the last thing I do want to ask you is what, even being new to this, what piece of advice would you give to another military spouse?
My biggest piece of advice would be to ignore the negative because there are a lot of people who complain that in this lifestyle. And again, being new, I can't complain about too much, but there are a lot of people that are going to say a lot of negative things. And you could be, going on a group to ask for the most innocent piece of advice, and people are going to throw the negative at you. So the biggest thing for me to tell anybody would be to just ignore all of that, because if the second that you start getting into the negative spiral, it's just going to continue, and you're only what you focus on is what you're going to see. So if you're focusing on the negatives, then that's all you're going to see. But if you try to change that and see the positives and look for the positives, no matter if you're in Oklahoma or in the worst duty station, or even if, my husband was gone for a year, right? And that was really hard. But I knew that it wasn't forever and that this was a season and it was going to pass, and that, I mean, look at where we've been reunited, which, I mean, I know that's not realistic to say, okay, then everybody gets Hawaii. Like, no,
but for some people it is.
Right. And just focus on the positives and surround yourself with people who are going to help you see the positives. We all know that there are some friends that you can make that when you say something negative, they're there and they're going to add more to your negatives. And then you can have friends who you're in a negative space and they see that and they're like, hey, let me help you get out of this and let me help you see it this way. So I would say surround yourself with positivity, because there are negatives to it. Nobody wants their husband to be gone for a year. Nobody wants, their family member to get deployed or to be worried, are they going to come home alive? But you just have to have faith and pray and trust and just surround yourself with those who are going to say, let's go do this to take your mind off of it. And here's the positive of the situation. So
I love that. And that's so true, because if you focus on the negatives, I mean, that's just life advice in general. If you focus on the negatives in life, then you're going to go and be in that negative spiral. But if you find the positives, even if it's just one tiny little thing that you might, or someone else might view as stupid, like, it's not stupid. If it makes you happy, if it brings positivity to your life, then do it. And, this lifestyle, you have to find even the smallest bit of positivity.
Right. Because it is going to be hard. I don't think anybody signs up for this or kind of gets, you marry somebody and you're like, okay, you want to do it, fine.
Yeah.
Do it. And that it's not going to be all butterflies and roses. But I think the thing to remember is that nothing is. And even just from my experience of me working and my husband working, it was not butterflies and rainbows. My career was not. It was very hard. And I was, not always very happy. So just remembering that, yes, military life is, I would say, an extra amount of hard, but everybody's life is going to have hard parts. And it's, I think, how we persevere and push through that makes us who we are. And we just have to focus on, like you said, even the smallest bit of positivity, and just go with it, and things will get better from there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much, Brittany, for being on the podcast and sharing your incredible military journey. We'll have to have you back on later in this life to see what's changed and how you're loving it still, hopefully.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to get to share a piece of our story.
Thank you for listening to Grace of a Military Child and Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, follow, and comment. Also, be sure to check out Instagram and Facebook at Grace of a Military Child and Life for more awesome content. For information on the podcast, Military Child Bigs and Littles, GoAMCL blog, or other resources, visit www.goamcl.org. You can also email me at Gracie, that's GRACIE @GOAMCL.org with any questions or comments. To be a guest on the podcast, you can schedule it at www.goamcl.org/schedule a podcast, all one word, or contact me via social media or email. Stay tuned for the next episode where another incredible story is shared.